What is going on, fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives, Make Money Online Trainer Podcast. It's your boy, Brian Mark. And in today's episode, I'm joined by one of my fucking top G's in my coaching program, Coach Kenny.
Heyo.
What's up, Coach Kenny? How you doing, bro?
Man, doing fucking great. How about yourself?
I'm having the best day of my life, bro. You know how it is. Best day of my fucking life.
Always.
So some of the people in my audience know who you are because I pretty much talk about you fucking once a week or twice a week or whatever the fuck on every masterclass that I ever do.
As you should.
As I should, exactly. So for anybody that has no idea who the fuck you are, because maybe they live under a rock or they're new to my audience, can you give me a little bit of a backstory on Kenny, Coach Kenny? Who were you, in the last few years, and what got you into coaching in the first place?
Yeah. So, what got me into coaching in the first place? Like, I've been doing this in some capacity or another for a really fucking long time. I started coaching other students in my high school when I was 15.
Yep.
In powerlifting, and then just kind of got into, like, I knew all along, I was like, I loved being around sports, but I was never athletic. So I liked being around the gym to help athletes out. And then, so started coaching when I was 15, sort of just bounced around like different niches and different types of athletes and stuff like that. Always kind of had that mentality that I was like, man, I'd rather spend my life doing this and be poor than like do something else and have an actual decent income.
Yeah.
And then, that was pretty much life for a long time, like through university. And then for the first like 5 or 6 years out of university, kind of barely making rent, just kind of surviving month to month. But I was loving life, literally, like, because I was able to do what I loved every day. And it wasn't until meeting you back in 2022 that I realized you don't have to be poor and do what you love. You can actually, do what you love and be successful and, make a little bit of money. And so that was like the real game changer, where it was like I didn't have to just tolerate kind of being in the industry that I loved, but I was able to actually build a life that I loved along with doing what I love too.
Yeah.
And just massive game changer for me.
So for you, you've always like had a passion for fitness, and you've always wanted to help people. And how many years did you spend in person kind of struggling to basically, in your words, pay your rent?
Ooh. So, when it was like my sole living, I started in it was 2017. That would have been like, I was like out of university and like actually trying to do this full time. 2017 was when that started. And then really just started succeeding with you in 2022. So 5 years.
5-6 years of like, becoming a good coach and trying to figure it out and like struggling.
Yeah. And like really just month to month, like making it through. But like there were a few months where like, the 29th, 30th of the month would come around. And then thankfully that last payment would come through where it's like, oh my God, there's rent. Like we're good.
Bro, I remember that life. I know that life all too well. That was That was my middle name. So you came in as a great coach. Do you mind if can I be raw with the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, so you came in as a great coach, not necessarily a great content creator though. Not yet.
Oh, fuck no.
Not yet. So when Kenny first started, you had 300 social media followers. So like you knew how to fucking coach people, but you had no fucking idea about social media. Am I right or wrong in saying that?
Oh, dude, 1000%. I'm like, the big thing was like, I was doing the work. I just had no idea how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching the Gary Vee videos talking about, the opportunity of social media and all that kind of stuff. And like, I was already posting every day. I just had no fucking idea what to post, how to make it good, how to make it engaging. So it was like, in my head, I was doing the work because I was putting shit out there, but shit would be the right way to describe it. Like, it was just like, there was no quality, there was no thought behind it. It was just every day something would go up because I knew that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
But there was never any like real rhyme or reason or any kind of thought behind like what was going up or why it was going up or what the purpose of it was.
So I'm curious because there's a lot of people in my podcast that are stuck at this mindset right here. I would say that 95% of the people in my audience are stuck right here. They're posting on social media, they're putting in the work, they understand the opportunity, but nothing's fucking hitting. So what was the breakthrough for you? And I'm curious, like, what made you even decide to hire me and Cole as your mentors? Because you could have just tried to figure this shit out on your own for the next fucking 5 years. And I think that's what a lot of personal trainers do. So I'm curious what the breakthrough was with your content, and like, why did you make a decision to hire a mentor?
So the decision to hire you guys was, plain and simple. I was one of those typical clients. Like immediately when the price got dropped, I was like, oh, there's no way I can pay that. Like, it's not gonna work, not gonna happen. I can't do it. And then I sat back and I thought about it after saying no. I sat back and I thought about it and I was like, what I'm doing right now is like, it's capped. Like this is, I'm just like, I'm working all the time, barely making enough to survive. And this guy has results. Clearly, like there's something that they're doing that's causing people to do a lot better than I'm doing right now. And I'm like, then when I broke it down, I was like, I literally looked at my bank account and I was like, the thought process running through my head, just to show you where my money mindset was at. Thought process that ran through my head is I was like, okay, if I pay this guy for the year and nothing happens, it's going to hurt, but I'm not going to die. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, even if my business stays exactly where it is, I don't learn anything. It doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form. I'm still making enough to pay my rent, and then I'll chalk it up as a loss. And that's that. It was like, but if I pay this guy and it actually works, let's fucking see where it can go. And it was like, it was like one of the hardest decisions in that way that I've ever made, because it was literally 95% of what I had in the bank. Like I
Yeah.
think I had like $1,100 left to my name after I made the investment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then 6 months later, making that same investment again wouldn't have been a fucking second thought. So like it was one of the hardest things I ever did, but at the same time, the absolute best fucking decision I ever made.
I fucking love that. So perfect. That's a good. So if you're in the audience right now, I want you to know Kenny started out just like you. All right. He was just like you, a fucking normal dude that was a great coach and just made the decision. Now, I want to talk to the people that are inside of the CLA or the 10K mastermind that are watching this right now, or the Millionaire Mastermind. You had a fucking massive breakthrough with your content. And you went from being a guy that was like, posting consistently on social media and not getting results to now, when you post on social media, you're getting recognized by some of the top fighters in the world. Like Conor McGregor's boxing coach followed you. Like we're talking about, like you went from not fucking existing on social media to you're getting Conor McGregor's boxing coach follow you on social media for combat sports advice. So what changed? Like what clicked? Like I'm in the audience right now and I'm listening and I'm like, how the fuck did he do that? I want that. What changed? What clicked?
So there's a couple things. So first off, not only followed me, but actually DM'd me and told me that he uses the stuff that I do with athletes of his. So
Conor
like that,
McGregor's boxing coach said that.
yeah. So like I'm not confident 100% that that's with Conor McGregor, but he has his own gym and he has a bunch of his athletes. So it's like he uses the stuff that I talk about with his athletes, which I thought was cool.
That's fucking sick.
But like the biggest thing that clicked was just not being afraid of saying what was actually on my mind, right? Like the conversation I remember I had with Cole, it's funny because like I remember Cole asked me at this point, he's like at one point, like, we all know him at this point.
Cole's watching right now. Just, I didn't mean to cut, but Cole's watching.
But when you ask Cole advice, he's very fucking direct. He's not going to sugarcoat it. So it's like I went on to a call with Cole. Like he pulled up my content and he was like, dude, this is shit and no one's going to buy anything from you ever. But the thing with that was like, then he also gave me tips on how to improve it. He was like, who do you work with? And I was like, combat sports athletes. He's like, cool. What do they want? And then he like basically just like walked me through. It's like what they want is to be able to perform at the highest level. So he's like, what you need to do is start tying what you do to people that are at the highest level. Mention their names. Talk about how the things you do are going to help you perform like that, because that's what they want. So it's like not being afraid to actually speak to the desired outcomes. Right. And it's like, is one of the conditioning sessions that I post going to turn you into Max Holloway? No. Is it going to cause a benefit to the way that you perform in your sport that'll get you closer to performing at that level? Yes. So fucking say that. And as soon as I started doing that, average view count and everything just kind of slowly started creeping up until one just fucking hit and got like 500,000 views in a couple days. And then content's been growing ever since.
That's great. By the way, guys, if that was valuable, drop some fire in the comments. So what are we sitting at right now for followers on your Instagram?
For Instagram specifically, 58.2 thousand. And then across all platforms, I think we're close to about 79,000, something like that.
Yeah. And what has that done for your business? Because your business is crushing. Because like you ended up hitting 5 to 10K a month with a really small following, which I think is impressive. And that just shows like your work ethic and your tenacity, because so many people think that they need to have a big social media following to make money. And so when you got Kenny right now, who has 80,000 followers across all platforms, you're like, it's easy for him to make 30K a month. He's fucking got that many followers. But like you were making really good money. You were making 5 to 10K a month with a small following. So I'm curious, what did it do for your business? And how did it change the way you operate your business, growing your social media following like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I was hitting 10 consistently, kind of like 9 to 12 or so consistently, which like now being in the mastermind doesn't feel like a big number, but when you really break that down, that's still a fucking great living.
Yeah.
And that was like before ever even cracking 1,000 followers across all platforms.
Yeah.
So it was like, but now sitting where I'm at now, like the business is making the least I've made in the last year has been about $23,000 in a month. And I'm consistently now hitting over 30. So it's like tripled the size of my business by just, and like the biggest thing though is the leads, right?
Mm.
It's like in the beginning, I had to put so much work into going out and finding every single lead.
Mhm.
But it's like now I literally open up Typeform in the morning and I'm like, oh, 7 new applications. And then I open up my Instagram and I'm like, oh, 9 new people DMing me, asking me questions. Like every single day, there's just more shit flowing in the door, which is like, that's the real kicker. Cause now it's like, I have to figure out of all the people, which ones I want to work with instead of trying to find which ones might want to work with me.
Yeah, it's almost like the way that I view online coaching when you first get started is you're basically a door-to-door salesman.
For
It's like, hey, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? But like honestly, I think you need to go through that phase. Like, hello,
Absolutely.
nice to meet you. What's your name? How can I help you? But like, I think you need to go through that phase. But then
100%.
you get to a place like, and that's how Gary Vaynerchuk started. Like, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee as well, and I know that you mentioned him on this podcast. Dude, I love Gary Vee. And how he started is he was on fucking Twitter responding to 300 to 500 people a day on Twitter because that's what he needed to fucking do. Like he was a
Oh, yeah.
nobody. And now Gary Vee can't even walk in public without getting fucking swarmed. So at first you put in the grind work, the fucking effort, and then you build an audience. And like now that you have an audience, it's like we're dealing with different levels of problem. It's like, how do we qualify our leads better? Like who's serious and who's
Yeah.
not versus like, are the leads.
That's what's so fun. And that's been the biggest change definitely over the last year has been like figuring out not how to get people to raise their hands, but how to quickly qualify from the 300 people that raise their hands on a CTA, be like, where's the 30 that I actually want to like bring in and have conversations with?
Hmm. So I'm curious because like I want somebody watching this to have a fucking breakthrough, like to go from like 0 to 10K or to go from 10K to 30K. So I want them to have a fucking breakthrough. So can you share in terms of like your based on everything you've learned so far in terms of like your business IQ or some of the things that you teach to your 10K mastermind students, what do you think is the biggest thing that holds trainers back from really stepping into their power, whether that be with content or business or making more money? Like, what do you think is holding people back?
That's a good question. I think there's a few different ways we can go, but I think like the biggest one definitely that it was for me was like the fear of being judged, the fear of people like not liking what you have to say, or like I'm trying to find like the right wording for it. Does that make sense? Like on social media, that was a big one for me is like before that conversation with Cole where he was like, dude, you want to fucking make money or not? It was like, it was always the fear. Like I was putting out the kind of surface level, like, hey, you should try something like this. But it was like never just like stating facts the way they were that I knew worked.
Hmm.
And it's like, because if you're willing to actually stand behind the things that you know are true, like I know the stuff I do works. I have evidence after evidence after evidence of it. But until I was willing to actually put that out there and be like, you need to do this because this is the result it's going to achieve. And if you don't do it, it's going to be a fucking problem for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, until I was willing to speak with that level of conviction, nobody had any opinions on any of the stuff I was going to say. And
Hmm.
if you look at a lot of my Instagram comments, there are still lots of people who think that I'm a fucking moron. But for every one person that thinks I'm a fucking idiot or has a problem with me or anything like that, there's 100 more that are messaging me being like, holy shit, this advice has been so helpful. Thank you so much. So it's like getting over the fact that there's going to be those people that have problems with you and
Mhm.
understanding that by putting yourself out there that way, yeah, there's going to be people that have problems with you, but you're going to be able to help so many more people when you actually fucking stand on what you believe in and put that out into the world more.
Mhm. I love that. I think the conviction is everything. I fucking agree. And being able to stand behind your statement. Because I'll be honest, when I was an online coach, bro, I struggled with that at first as well. Like I would have a hard time talking about my theory on macros because I get fucking science geek nerd 66445. And I'd be like, oh shit, maybe he's right. I would like
Yeah.
consider his opinion. Like maybe I shouldn't say this. So like I get that. That's a big thing. And then even now with my content, like I'm like, I say it how it is. I fucking speak my mind on my sales content, my fucking content. You might like it or dislike it. I don't give a fuck because every comment that you give me, whether you love me or hate me, is actually building my audience. So I think it's a fucking beautiful thing. So that's content. Talk to me about your money mindset because when you first got started, like you're telling me you had $1,100 left in the bank. And now making $30,000 a month, like there's a big shift in your financial mindset. So like, talk to me about your money mindset now.
Dude, that was honestly a really difficult thing to come to terms with, as weird as that is like making like starting to actually be more successful was like a difficult thing to wrap my mind around.
Mm,
Like when I started actually making 10 to 12K a month, like, you'd think like celebrate from the rooftops, right? Like pay bills and I still have money left over. Like you'd think like it was a good feeling, but it was like the overwhelming feeling in the beginning was guilt. And it was a lot of difficult stuff to work out, like work through mentally to be like, no, this isn't a bad thing.
mm,
Like if I'm being more successful, that's a good thing. It allows me to live a better life, but it also allows me to help more people around me, right? Because and in the beginning, what I realized was because I lived for so long not having that, that it
mm,
was like it almost didn't feel deserved. Right.
mm,
And actually, speaking of, I think that's another big thing that holds people back too,
mhm,
is there's almost that fear of like, people think you're a sellout when you start making money. And it's like, but if you're making money helping people and it's improving their lives, why is it a bad thing?
mhm,
Right. And it's like, but the people almost like look at you differently. And there are people that look at me differently now than they did when I was struggling as well,
mhm,
right? But understanding that it's like you being more successful doesn't make you a bad person. And if somebody judges you for, making more money and doing well for yourself, that's a them problem, not a you problem. And then it also allows you to do more. Like I'm in Phoenix right now, I'm gonna spend the afternoon at Sean O'Malley's strength and conditioning gym. And I would not be able to do that if I hadn't put the work in and become more successful. And that's going to be, yes, a cool experience for me, but massively beneficial for all my athletes
mhm,
because I'm going to be able to learn more things from this guy to be able to make the programs I deliver that much better. So it's
mm,
like if you want to deliver a better product and help people the way you say you do, you need to understand that being more successful is only going to help you be able to do that more.
fucking banger. Absolute banger. So let's if you could go back to the fucking Kenny that, was in the gym, he was barely making enough to pay his rent. He was fucking struggling month over month. He was passionate about what he was doing, but he wasn't making the money that he deserved. If you could go back to that version of Kenny right now with all the information, all the data, all the business IQ, all the content IQ that you've accumulated, and you could only give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
Stop listening to the wrong people. And I think like because the reason is like we grow up around a certain type of people that have a certain type of mindset. You're supposed to be a certain way, you're supposed to operate a certain way, all this kind of stuff. And it's not until you start listening to the right people that you understand that's not how life has to be.
Mm,
Right. Because like I do believe I was happy, but I was also stressed. Right. It's like I enjoyed my day to day of being in the gym, working hard, all of that. But it's stressful when you're doing that all day and then you're coming home and you're having to budget out, $60 for that week for groceries instead of being able to just go to the grocery store and get whatever the fuck you want. And
mm,
it's like, but I had grown up in such an environment that was just like save every dollar you have, fit in, don't try to stand out, all this kind of like, just pushing for like be as mediocre as you can essentially, that it's like that was just how life was supposed to be.
mm,
But it's like until I met you, Cole, and started like understanding that, life can be better than that, that was just what I knew.
mm,
Right. So it's like stop listening to the wrong people, find people that are living more of the life that you actually want versus the people that you just grew up around and
mm,
start listening to them so you can create the life you want instead of just continuing to live the life you know.
mm. Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I love having this conversation with you.
Hell yeah.
And the reason I love it is because like what Cole and I do, I think we have the fucking best jobs on the planet. We literally take personal trainers that know they want to fucking impact the world on a bigger level. And we teach them how to create better content, how to sell more people, how to build their business so that they can live the life of their dreams and they could live like me and Cole were living for fucking 5 years as an online fitness coach. We were like living the life. And here you are, you're in fucking Phoenix. You're about to go train at fucking Sean O'Malley's gym, and you are like, you've just evolved so much since the fucking man that you first were when you signed up for our coaching program. So I'm really proud of you and I appreciate you.
Dude, I appreciate you. And it's like, I really mean it when I say, like, I absolutely know I wouldn't be here without you guys too. Because, like, I know obviously for each individual, like, it's up to us to actually, like, take the information and put the work in.
Mm.
But it's like the stuff you guys are giving, like, the way I always put it to people, because I'll get DMs asking about your program and stuff like that from people that aren't in it yet. And the way I
We're
always
probably
put it
gonna
to
get some more
them,
after this podcast.
oh, dude, I get them at least a couple times a week, and I love it. But like the way I always put it to people is, I'm like, the blueprint is there. Like, there's no way that you can follow everything directly as it's given, ask the questions, show up to the calls, put the work in, and not be successful. Like, if you're not seeing success in it, there's something that you're not doing or something that you need to change.
Yeah.
And like, the blueprint's there. So it's like, if you're willing to show up and put the reps in, you will see the success from it. And it's like, so it's like, for myself, I just knew, I was like, I was willing to do the work. I just didn't know what work to do. And it's like, you guys make it so simple that you're like, okay, fuck all of this stuff. This is exactly what you need to do, what you need to follow. And then if you're willing to show up every day and relentlessly work at that, you're going to see success.
Hmm.
So it's like, I know for a fact I wouldn't be here without you guys, because I'd still be grinding, spinning my wheels, trying to figure out whatever the hell I'm figuring out. Without any proper guidance, you're just not going to get there. So I appreciate the fuck out of all of you guys too.
We got you, bro. We got you. I appreciate you. Kenny, where do they find you? My audience is curious. By the way, I'm getting like a bunch of comments coming in. This was awesome to hear today. So many parallels for what I go through in this, specifically the fear of judgment for others in my space. I needed to hear this today. Thank you, Kenny. This was valuable. Anthony Anasma says, if you could say one thing, you're not shadow banned. Your content just sucks.
Also that.
That's a fucking valuable thing to say.
Yeah. Also that. You're not shadow banned. Your content just sucks. Get on a content audit with Cole or with me now, and we'll tell you. Like,
yeah, Kenny, where do they find you, bro?
Instagram's definitely the best place at coach_Duso. And I'm sure you can spell Duso out in the captions for people, because when people try to spell it, it's always a hilarious.
Dude, I fuck it up too. I need to every time I read out your name, I need to go fucking make sure that I'm spelling it right.
On a couple of the presentations that I've seen my name mentioned, it's definitely been off, but I don't blame you, man. It's not an easy one, that's for sure.
Anthony says, find Kenny in the octagon. That's where you can find Kenny.
Beside the octagon. I'll stay close to it, but it's never me going in there.
Dude, I appreciate you. Thank you for hopping on today.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for everything.
All right, guys, if you got value from the Coach Kenny episode and you want to learn from me and my team how we can help you scale your coaching business and get results like we've helped Kenny, I'm not promising you $30,000 a month, because if you don't do the fucking work, I can't help you. But I guarantee, even if you suck and you're not very good at implementing the course, I guarantee that you will make at least $10,000 in revenue in 6 months. And if you don't, I'll send you back every single dollar that you paid. So if you're interested, send me a DM on Instagram that says 10K, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, and you want to learn more about how me and my team can help you scale your online fitness business to $10,000 a month, DM me 10K on Instagram at TheRealBrianMark for more information, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help you grow an online coaching business.